Hello and welcome everybody to Bodacity's Ask the Experts. And I'm here today with McKay. So hi, welcome.
Hi, Jannette. Welcome. Thank you.
I'm going to just tell you a little bit about Aura before we leap right in. But I really hope you guys are joining us online today because Aura is a bundle of enthusiastic answers. So if you have beleaguered questions, now's the time, especially if you're an entrepreneur who's dealing with overwhelm or being stuck or spinning, then she's got some goods for you. So come and join us. And she's just really fun too. So come and join us. If you're out there and you're lurking, come and join us and be willing. Just put some questions in the post below so that we can answer as we go along. So let me introduce Aura. And again, welcome. She is or has been called the Question Queen, a self-worth empowerment machine. Try and say that 5 times really fast. An efficiency expert, a massive value adder, a progress maker, a perspective shifter, and a clarity wizard. Do you put all those on your business card? Because that's a lot.
I have a great t-shirt that has it like a tour list going on of all the things I've been called.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. That's a great idea. Talk about wearing your pride. I love it. She is an enthusiastic, no holds barred, get right to the heart of the matter coach, helping small business owners figure out exactly how they're going to make more money, work less hours, and or find more fulfilling clients to create the lifestyle and impact that they want, which is part of what we're up to, which is part of why I'm really excited to have her here. She works with passionate service-based freelancers, consultants, and entrepreneurs who've been in business more than a year and are feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or plateaued, trying to live the life they dream of. And, that's what everybody's working on. So using a blend of transformational mindset tools and real-world modern business strategies, Aura brings her almost 2 decades of personal experience as a creative entrepreneur, her education in traditional marketing and business, and dozens of coaching success stories to every interaction. She offers one-on-one coaching, keynotes, and hosting MC services, and soon to be launched masterminds. Yay! Yes, I'm really happy to hear that. Yay, that's good. All right, so which is where I originally met Aura, was through some mastermind work that we're doing. So that's awesome. Okay, so that kind of told us your official bio, which is great. Now I want to know the juicy stuff that you never would put in a bio. So tell me something about you, besides the fact that you have a very fluffy cat named Charlie, that people might not know or guess about you, a little bit of your background or something, just a couple of sentences about who you really are.
Well, I've always been really, really self-expressed, especially as a child. And so I had lots of drama and acting and stage performances and all kinds of things that I could do. And I had this vision in my mind that one day I was going to be a superstar. And so what you may not know about me, but you could probably guess, is that I have several scripts that I've memorized and monologues that I've memorized and little sort of party tricks that I can do, like say the alphabet backwards or recite Shakespeare with mime. So those are sort of like gives you a hint of my personality.
And they may come in handy, certainly at parties for sure.
It's icebreakers.
Yes, you just never know when you need to mime math. You just never know when that'll come in handy.
Usually Hamlet, though. I go for the love stories, tragic love stories.
All right, good. And so definitely an entrepreneur and an entertainer by heart. So tell us a little bit about your why. How did you come to this passion of wanting to work with entrepreneurs, support them in getting unstuck? So what's the why behind the bio?
Thank you so much for asking, Jannette, because this is something that I've been asking myself for a lot of years now, really wanting to get to the core of what really matters to me and why I'm here. Because, in this desire to be self-expressed and to find ways to generate prosperity through my own self-expression, I kind of became a reluctant entrepreneur or business owner. In my pursuit to be a professional photographer, I really just wanted to take pictures. I really just wanted to I wanted to get paid to travel around the world. This is my biggest plan. And so photography was one of the ways that I decided I could do that. And so I pursued photography because I loved photography. And I found that I had to be in business at the same time. And what I discovered is that there were so many other passionate, creative people that wanted to do amazing things, but weren't supported in how to generate revenue from it, how to take our passion, our creativity, and turn it into prosperity and a business, and to bridge that gap between our skills and our creativity and our passion and business. And so I have a background in financial management and marketing communication. That was my education. So I bring this creativity that I have with photography, and I bring this business and marketing. And I was like, wow, I can really be of service to other people who want to generate prosperity through their own self-expression by being able to blend those two worlds for them. So that's really where my why comes from, is that I have this energy and this positivity and this knowledge, and I wanted to find a way, how can I help other people generate prosperity through their self-expression?
Cool. So I hear kind of the genesis of this being when you were young and wanting to be really self-expressed and wanting to be creative, and then that creativity took you into wanting to do photography, but it's hard to do photography as a living if you don't know how to make a living from it, and that took you down the entrepreneurial path. And this may not be something that you have an answer top of mind to, but why is self-expression so important to you? Because you've mentioned a few times being fully expressed, being self-expressed. Where did that why come from? How did that start?
Well, it's so great, because in thinking about answering your questions today, I was like, well, I don't really have a tragic story or a real dip that I can take people through. But this question that you've just asked me right now is exactly it. So I wasn't even able to say the words fully self-expressed. I'm still verklempt about it when it comes up for me for a really long time. And I mean, like, I recently, in the last 5 years, just started being able to use that language. That that this loud, energetic, positivity, kind of boisterousness that I have as my innate way of being was really suppressed. I was told I was too loud, too enthusiastic, too dramatic, too energetic, too over the top, too happy all the time. And so I just squished myself into other people's boxes for a really long time, which is why I became an accountant for 10 years, which is why I went into marketing and advertising, because, there's a normal way that I can be a little bit creative that everybody else will approve of. So really just coming into a place of being comfortable with who I really am at my core, and sort of acknowledging that this energy and this creativity and this boisterousness is actually a gift, and reclaiming that is kind of where I got to self-expression kind of being what I'm about. And it's a combination, Jannette. It's really about positivity, growth mindset, and self-expression kind of combined together, and how those three things can really serve us to be who we're really meant to be in the world.
Cool.
Oh, thanks for asking.
I love it. And thank you for the authenticity, and for really, it's clearly such a really, really important part of who you are, what you do and what you're up to and what you stand for in the world, what you want to create more of for your, not only yourself, but everyone else. Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing to really support that deeply and that passionately. So I love it. Thank you.
I'll just add one extra thing. Is I think the first time that I actually kind of created that sort of leap moment between hesitating to be fully who I am and seeing the impact of when I am unleashed that way. I was doing a small talk, and there was a group of people in there, and I was facilitating the conversation. And during the conversation, one woman stopped it completely and said, I have to say something. And she said, I cannot thank you enough for being as big as you are, because you have given me permission to be that big in my own life. And I got it in that moment. I got that me playing small did not serve the world.
Right.
And that by being truly who I am, it actually had this incredible impact on others. And I think that's what generated me into more coaching and more speaking and helping others find the same truth.
Yeah, I'm with you. And so is Margaret. Margaret's comment, thanks for being here, Margaret, was that right there made it totally worth being on this broadcast. Thank you, Ara.
Thanks, Margaret. Thank you.
So awesome. And what's been some of the things that have gotten in the way of your self-expression? I know this question wasn't on the list, but
okay. So
what shuts you down?
Pretty much everything that shuts anybody down who is trying to bridge something personal with something professional or a business. So when I attach my own self-worth to the success of my business, that's what gets in my way. So when I go after a client and they choose not to hire me, and then that gets in my way of my self-worth and my self-esteem, and I can't really do it, and I don't know really. So it's mostly the self-talk and the limiting beliefs. I mean, really, there's resources, knowledge, skills, and then way of being. And I would say that the number one thing has always been my way of being, my mindset, my thinking. I can find the resources. I can learn the knowledge and skills that I need to be successful, learn how to price, learn how to quote, learn how to market, learn how to Facebook, I can do that. But it's getting out of my own way, Jannette, that's really been the biggest challenge. And that's why I've devoted so much of my time in learning about mindset and learning about personal development and how that can transform my business success.
Yeah, I love that connection.
I hear you. You're good.
Yeah. Is there an echo? There's on my end. Oh well. Press on. I agree. I think the total internal and external. I mean, part of why we talk in Bodacity about what are some of the personal challenges you face and what are some of the business challenges is that you can't separate the two out. We bring all of our stuff, all of our light and all of our shadow to our business. And it is the biggest thing that I think people struggle with is, and that I struggle with, is all of the stuff between these 4 inches between our ears is the biggest impediment to our business.
Absolutely.
Marketing skills or know-how, it's not any of that. It's just what goes on up here first, because that takes us out of the game first. And so one of the things that you talked about and that you like to support people with is to stop spinning and stop the overwhelm and I can't and all of those noises and voices. So what are 3 ways that you have found to be really effective? There's a whole new word.
Yes, effective.
Effective and successful. It's a new word, effective.
I love it. Yes.
Effective in really supporting people and getting unstuck. So what are those? Because there's not a entrepreneur on the planet who hasn't been there. So,
I think number 1 is identifying that you are stuck.
Yeah.
And getting clear about what it is that you're stuck on. And I want to step over that because the self-awareness and being self-observant enough to say, okay, I am stuck. What really is it that is keeping me stuck? Is it a mindset thing? Is it a resource thing? Is it a knowledge or skills thing? Like, what is keeping me stuck? So being able to identify I am stuck and what is that stuckness. And then the second thing I would say is to identify a tool or strategy for dealing with that stuck. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we just go, I'm stuck. I need a solution, but we don't have anything to bridge that gap, to be able to understand what is that tool or strategy that I can use to be able to get from stuck to unstuck. And then I would say the third thing, and I mean, this might be included in a tool and strategy, but let me share my number 1 tool or strategy for that bridge, which is really about conversation. It's about connection. It's about getting in conversation with someone else that has a different perspective. So finding a coach, finding a mentor, finding a fellow business professional who may be in the same space or a little bit ahead of you in the journey, and being able to speak out loud your stuckness into the world so that you can be separate from it, so that you have that perspective that is not you, it's just a circumstance. Because once you can identify it as not you, then you can start to turn it around. And the third thing I would say has to do with connection and getting support is to make your declaration in a way that you're getting accountability and support. So identify the stuck, what it is, figure out a tool or a system or a strategy, and then get support in being consistent with the action that you've chosen. So those would be the three things that I would say.
Cool. I love it. Okay. So let's start with number one. So identify. Here's one of the challenges that I find that I know I have, and I've seen with a ton of my clients is they don't necessarily identify it as stuck as much as I have all these various legitimate reasons, AKA excuses, for not moving forward because I don't have this in place and I don't have that in place and I don't have this in place. And I have to do all of these things and I have to be all of these things. So it's not necessarily that they would say they're stuck. They just have all of this stuff that must be done or perfect or in place or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that keeps them spinning. So, I know for me, for Bodacity, I kept myself out of the game for years trying to get the positioning right, trying to figure out exactly who and what and where and when, especially because I teach this, so I should be able to dial this in. It wasn't until I was willing to say, fuck it, I'm going forward anyways, because I can't get this clear because it's too close for me, even with help. So I'm just going to go ahead anyways, that I started to get some momentum again and some movement. So for those people who are not necessarily identified yet as stuck, but are just spinning, how do we get that clarity? How do we start to see that this is actually just a story?
Well, first of all, you are my tribe, sister, because I have been in that, but I have to have this in order to do this, and in order to do that, but in order to do this, I have to do that. And that sort of constant vicious circle of whatever piece of the puzzle that I need to do whatever it is that I think I should be doing, I somehow am missing, or it's really complicated. Mm-hmm. So, I hear you, and that overwhelm and that spin. So part of it is about finding a way to break that cycle. So sometimes you're able to do that on your own. Sometimes that takes outside influence, like some training or something like that. But if you want to do it on your own, I see that Margaret just posted, so I'm right there now, but working on it. Okay. So if you're in that place, Margaret, this is totally for you, my friend, because that spinning around and being stuck and being overwhelmed, what I find is to just really try to simplify, to work your way through. That's awesome. So to really try to simplify what it is that's going down. So number one, do a brain dump. All of the shoulda, woulda, couldas, automata, aren't, could, write them all down. Get them out of your body, out of your mind. So again, so you can create that separation between what you think is going on in these 4 inches, as you like to say, Jannette, and what's really going on out here in the world. Because once you're able to separate yourself, then you can create things like priorities. Then you can start figuring out how you're going to deal with it. I find that overwhelm really boils down to, I don't have enough time to do everything that I want to do, or I don't have enough money to pay somebody else to do it. So it really comes down to sort of time and money. And really, those are very simple things. More time just comes down to either outsource, automate, delegate, or eliminate. So either take it off your list altogether, hire somebody else to do it, outsource it, get somebody on your team you already have to do it, or figure out a way to automate whatever that is. Yeah. So if you can break it down to the simple bones of it, you can really start to separate from all of the emotion and the beliefs and the mindset. Now, it's still important to deal with that, because otherwise you're going to get right back in it. Exactly. But it's the mindset shift that fundamentally lays the foundation for all of the changes. Because, I mean, as you know, as you share in your work, we have our thoughts and beliefs that lead to our actions that lead to our results. So once we deal with the thoughts and beliefs, but there's so many simple things that we can do just by getting separate from the emotion and the beliefs and really looking at, okay, it's money I want. Well, there's really not a lot of different ways to make more money. You can reduce your expenses. You can raise your prices. You can get better clients. You can get more efficient.
Leverage. You can do one to many.
Leverage one to many. Get more efficient. So like making more money isn't like, it's not rocket science. We make it really complicated because we care, because we have a unique set of passions and beliefs and mindset that infuse business. And so that's why I really think that there's a gap in the world between passion and business. And how do you get them together in a way that serves us and accelerates results and all that great stuff?
Yeah, I love it. Love it. There was a couple things that I've heard or taken aboard and over the years that I'm hearing you say in a different way, but similar concept, that just because it's in my head, doesn't mean it's my voice. In many cases, a lot of what's going on in our head came from someone else, right? Yeah. So it sounds like me, but it's not necessarily my voice. So that starts to get some perspective on, okay, whose voice is that? Who should or have to or thought or belief is that? Where did that come from? Starts to do what you were talking about, get it out there so we can look at it, loosen up the attachment to this is the truth. And then the second part of that is just because it's in my head and it's pretty vehement doesn't mean it's the truth. Right? Whether it's Byron Katie's The Work, where you just ask, is that true? Or just like you said, write it out so that you can look at it and get some distance and decide, is that actually true? And never mind even true, I just say it's a story that we're telling. Does the story take me closer to what I want or further away? And if it takes me closer, great, keep telling that story. If it takes me further away, tell a different story, because we're making it all up anyways. Yeah. We just think it's the truth because it resonates in our head so much and so long and so vehemently most of the time. So I love that. It sounds like a really simple thing, but to externalize it so you can look at it is so important and so profound as a first step, to just get it out so you can look at it, either in writing or, like you said, in conversation with someone else to get that perspective, a coach, a mastermind group, a buddy, something like that.
Well, I'm really noticing how Facebook groups and communities that people are building are really supporting that, because you post it out on Facebook in a group and you think, oh, well, now I get some perspective on that and I'm able to see, is it the truth? Is it my truth? Is it a truth that supports me?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I was just prior to jumping on here, I'm writing out the copy for our mastermind groups, which is our mastermind groups, and I was looking at some other content, and there's a TED Talk on masterminds, and his opening line is, "We used to say it takes a village to raise a child, so why would it not take a group to raise an adult?" And our extension is, or a business, that it takes more than one struggling alone in our limited perspective to create something of meaning, to create, whether that's a business or a baby or a community or a life. It takes more than one. And especially as women, we have this weird thing of, I've got to do it on my own. I'll be happy to support you, but God forbid I should ask for any support, right? It's like, it's perverse. There's all sorts of perverseness around that. Okay.
So many conversations we can be having, and I'm trying to stay on topic. I'm like, stay on topic, stay of service, because really, one of the things that I noticed in terms of the women that we have listening in this group and the people that are going to be seeing this podcast is that they're in that place of making that leap and wanting to create that kind of freedom lifestyle that we all dream about. And what I think is important to acknowledge, and what my experience has shown, is that when we have that desire to create that freedom lifestyle, we can sometimes get caught up in our own dreams and our own passions and our own kind of miasma of stuff. And what we don't realize is that we are actually not alone in it. Mm-hmm. And that there are communities out there. And it's amazing because we're experiencing a complete shift in our economy, in the marketplace. We're seeing a growth, an actual boom of solopreneurs and freelancers and people who are being of service. And we're also seeing communities like Bodacity growing to the place where we're starting to see, because we have so many solopreneurs, we're now coming together as solopreneurs and seeing the power of that. Even that's a leveraging a one-to-many circumstance, really, just in terms of being a part of a community, is leveraging that community around you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think leveraging community and conscious communities of choice, because there's so much illusion of separation, and it's being fostered more and more in the current political situation, us and them, which is contra to, which is why I think the Dalai Lama said Western women are going to lead the world out of this morass, because that kind of old patriarchal view of us and them, power, control, etc., needs to be shifted from fear to love. And women who are collaborative by nature, who are relationships by nature, have to lead that. And that's part of what I hear you saying is, you know, a big part of what you're up to is, how do I support entrepreneurs in coming back to their heart and their head and being practical and putting that in a way that it fully self-expresses them and their unique gifts in the world. And so part of your focus.
Can I just jump in a little bit with there, Jannette? Because I think that one of the challenges is that, yes, I absolutely agree with you. And I think one of our challenges as Western culture is that we're so influenced by media and social media. And, you know, we are most influenced by the 5 people we spend time with. We're most influenced by what we choose to nurture our brain with, the things that we read, this podcast that we listen to. And so I think that when you are a curator of your own information and you choose to inform yourself with the things that are going to nurture you and support you, like your self-talk that you were talking about earlier, I think then when we are living a life by design instead of by default, then we're going to see the manifestation of that possibility. Because I think, you know, the challenge is there's so much coming at us. And so then we can't distinguish between our own shoulds and somebody else's voice of should. We get imposter syndrome. We see somebody else, you know, rocking out a 6-figure business and they did it in 2 minutes. And we think, oh my gosh, I'm terrible. Right. So I think it's really important that we do those reality checks and that we do really pay attention to what we're allowing to influence us so that we can get to that place of being in the world the way that we want to be seen. Yeah.
I love it. And I love your phrase of being a curator of your own information and really a curator of your own experience in terms of who you're choosing to be. So on that note, what do you listen to that inspires you, or what do you do to help manage your state?
Okay, number one, I listen to a lot of things. I'm a huge audiobook consumer, and I have a book list. And if somebody wants that, they can post it in the comments, and I'll send you out my favorite Audible book list. But I think my habit, the success habit that has anchored me, is actually journaling. And the funny story about this, because you know how you make a declaration about like who you are in the world? Like, I'm the kind of person who's always on time, and I'm the kind of person who never journals. I don't like journaling. I was journaling, writing in a book, blah, blah. And so then I looked around my office and I saw like 30 little notebooks like this, full of words. And I had been declaring that I am not a journaler. I don't write. And I thought, okay, well, first of all, I'm going to call BS on myself, because clearly the evidence would say I am a journaler. And so then I thought, well, what would it look like? What could it look like? Because I'm a question queen. So I asked myself the questions. What could it look like in my life if I used this thing that I'm doing that I was completely denying I was doing, but instead if I acknowledge it and I look at that as an opportunity, how could I use this? So I looked for ways of journaling with intention. And I created some morning habits around that. And one of my favorite morning habits was by a woman named Mel Robbins, who wrote a book called The 5-Second Rule. And so if any of you guys are real big procrastinators, that book, The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins, is fantastic. So she has a journaling method where she asks herself 4 simple questions every morning. So first of all, when I get up in the morning, no technology until I've done my journaling. So I sit in front of my fire, I got my cup of coffee, I got my cat, I got my journal, and I don't let technology curating my experience. I don't let technology influence. So then these 4 questions that Mel Robbins suggests that we ask in the morning. So the first one is, what worked yesterday and why? And the critical part is the and why, and really getting present to what was my success and why was it successful? Not why was it successful, but why do I feel successful about it?
Okay.
right? So like getting in touch with things like, is it aligning with my values? Was I being authentic? Like all of that stuff. And then the second question is, what didn't work yesterday and why? And again, getting into that, and why didn't it work?
Yeah.
Because it was out of integrity, because it didn't align with my core values, because I said I would and I didn't, because whatever it is.
Yeah.
The third question is, what am I grateful for and why? So again, we're getting to that place of really not just I'm grateful for my cat and I'm grateful for my home and I'm grateful for sunshine, but why am I grateful for sunshine?
Yeah.
Why am I grateful for my home? Why am I grateful for this opportunity to connect, right? So really looking at the and why part. And the fourth question is, what are the two most important things for me to do today and why? And I think the distinction between what's important and what's urgent is the part that really makes this tool effective for me, because I am a to-do list like guru. I can knock it out. I can be a productivity queen. I can even procrastinate productively. I can find ways, like I can do all over the place. And I'm so like deadline and I got to do this and I got to, but really looking at not what's urgent, but what's important, what's going to move me towards my dreams. Who can I be today so that I can become the person in 90 days that I wish to be? What is important for me to do today so that next year I can go and travel in Europe for 2 months?
Yeah. Yeah.
But really looking at those 4 questions. She has a couple of other things that she does around her morning practice that I've tweaked to mine, but those 2 things, no technology until I've created my intention and I've reviewed my yesterday, and then move into my day. So I don't get hijacked by other people's shoulda, woulda, coulda, automitas.
I haven't heard the automita ad before.
My mom has it's your shoulda, woulda, coulda, automita didn't. And I'm like, okay. Get rid of those.
Okay, I can see where you take after someone there with some of your speech stuff. Yeah. Okay, I love that really concrete tip. I was writing it down as you were talking. That's why I was looking down because I think it's a really nice, beautiful, simple way. And I love the and why, because that's where the depth comes from.
It's the and why.
Yeah, and
honestly, Jannette, that's the part that I struggle with. That's the part that I like to avoid or skip over and think. And, sometimes I do. I'm not perfect. I'm practicing my own mastery, and I am mastering practice. And so I love that I have the experience of myself as not perfect in that world, because it allows me so much compassion and empathy with my clients and with other people as well. And it really grounds me back to the place that, what I'm doing in the morning is a habit. It's like brushing my teeth. It's like, washing my dishes. It's not a one and done situation. It's something that I do continuously to nurture my own growth, to see the progression that I can make. And sometimes it's 2 steps forwards and 1 step back.
Yeah, I hear you on that for sure. And I love, there's so many things that you've just kind of tossed off that are really deep, lovely gems. Like even the comment you just made of, I'm practicing mastery and I'm mastering practice. That one line is a whole discussion for another whole half hour.
I know.
Conversation, because it is such a great framing that gets us past perfection and really, and past the rebel that doesn't want to be disciplined, right? Because there's a whole bunch of that, not if you want me to, even if the you is me, and even if it's good for me, no, I don't want to be disciplined, because then that would mean actually, not being a rebel. So that one.
Interesting, you little rebel. You've just given us a very good insight about you, because for me, it occurs completely different, Jannette. Because for me, it occurs of, I only want to do self-development when I feel like it. And so if I wake up in the morning and I don't feel like it, how do I get past the, I don't really want to, I don't really, it's, and it really gets me connected with, I like short-term gratification. I want that instantaneous, I'm going to write in my journal and then boom, I'm going to like magically appear the relationship that I want in my life. Like today, I write it one time and that's it. So I like the idea that it's practicing the mastery of manifestation. It's mastering that practice and that it's over time. So it's interesting that it occurs for you as being a rebel. And it occurs for me.
So that's what I mean. It's such a deep conversation that could just the layers of that one little sentence would be great. So thank you for the practical journaling idea. That's great. And the ideas in terms of getting unstuck and really kind of looking at first identifying it, then figuring out, once I take it out and look at it more objectively, what are some tools and resources that I could bring to bear? And one of the things that you've modeled really well through this whole thing is the power of questions. So even in that second step, just asking better questions, because we come with answers and we come with suppositions and beliefs and projections. So just going and asking some different questions and different framing is a way to start to get access to what do I need? What are some tools and resources? And the third one is really outing it and being able to look at it through conversation, through having support, through having people who have your back, a way to reflect it back, because we can't see it when it's so close, right?
We don't know what we don't know.
Exactly. So I love those practical tips. And in some ways, yes, they sound simple and we've heard them, but in other ways, it's exactly when we are most up against our stuff that we need the simple, that we need to be reminded of the things that work, that are actually deeply profound, and that we avoid because we want to, stay spinning and stuck, because then we don't actually have to step into the bigness, step into the potential, step into who we really are, be fully expressed, which is part 2 of this conversation of, okay, so that's the letting go of and getting unstuck, but then there's that whole second part of that, which is stepping into and claiming and owning and
how do we grow? Now that we're unstuck, how do we grow? Yeah.
I know. So I hear a part 2 being scheduled soon.
And I think part 2, I think part 2 might really be about what kinds of questions can you ask yourself in order to move forward? Because there's a whole conversation about even the questions we ask have presuppositions in them.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's amazing the power of a really well-placed question.
Yeah, exactly. And are they coming from a limiting belief or a supporting belief? Even the framing of the question makes a difference in terms of the story that we then tell and the meaning that we apply. So yeah, I love it, love it, love it. I love the conversation. I love your enthusiasm. I love the questions and the framing and so forth that you have. So when it comes to making a leap, because a lot of what we're about is really supporting people in making that leap. So it's one thing to get unstuck. And like we said, it's another thing when you're standing on the edge of the cliff to make the leap. So what's one piece of advice to wrap up here? We've got a little long, sorry about that, but you're just so fascinating. So what's one piece of advice you would give people to be able to make that leap? And what's worked for you?
Well, one piece, Jannette, one piece. Oh my God. Okay. So, okay. So have you ever done online shopping?
Yeah.
So, when you online shop, you already know that there's a chance that the thing may not fit you, or it may not actually work in your wardrobe, or it may not show up the way that you think it's going to show up, but you go ahead and you put your credit card down anyways and you buy the thing, and then you keep your fingers crossed and you wait, and then it shows up, and then you try it on. And you think, okay, does this work for me or not? Does this fit me? Does this work in my wardrobe? Is it the right size? Is it comfortable? Can I make it work? And if it doesn't, you send it back and you get a refund. Sometimes you can't get a refund.
Sometimes.
But sometimes you can't. And sometimes sending it back is a huge hassle. And sometimes it's like, well, that was a mistake. That was $30 well spent, and then you just try the next thing and you try on the next thing. So I invite you to consider that making the leap is about creating a possible way that life could look for you if you took the leap, and trying it on. And what I mean by trying it on when I say taking the leap is start taking steps in that direction. Start acting as if that was the perfect thing for you. Start asking for new kinds of clients. Start declaring yourself as who you are in your life. So I made the transition from being a professional photographer to being a mindset and business strategy coach. So 20 years of my reputation with my thousands of followers and all of that kind of stuff, and all of my speaking was around being a professional photographer and talking about photography and creativity in that context. And so I had to recreate myself newly as the business I was now creating, making the leap into becoming the mindset and business strategy coach that I want to be. And so I had to try on a few titles. So I tried on creativity coach, and I tried on speaker and master manifester. And so don't be afraid to try on, to move in that direction, to start introducing yourself as the new version of you that you wish to be in the world, and see if it fits. And then make alterations. Maybe you need a tailor to extend the metaphor. Maybe you need training. Maybe you need a mastermind group. Maybe you need a coach. Maybe you need a community. But figure out by just moving in that direction, and it will become really clear really fast whether it works for you. You know, when you put on those jeans and they're 5 sizes too big, they're just 5 sizes too big, and there's nothing you can do. Because that always happens, right?
I was going to say, typically my experience is the other way, but that's okay.
I'm reframing over here.
I like your reframe. I like it. All right. I love it. That's a brilliant analogy. And yeah, really, what is the mindset that it takes for us to be willing to step into that unknown, that risk, and yet we still do it. We commit time, we commit resources. We're willing to make that commitment on the off chance that it's going to work and that it'll fit us and suit us. So how do we bring that same mindset to the leaps that we want to take in terms of, like you said, reinventing who we are, or reclaiming or creating ourselves newly? So I love that concept. It's a great frame of reference that I think almost everybody can relate to. So thank you. So where can people find out more about you and your products and services?
So on my website, I have auramckay.com, so auramckay.com. If you go to auramckay.com / whatever that is, discover, you will be invited to participate in a business assessment session where I can look specifically at where you're stuck, the challenges you're having, the mindset that's keeping you either spinning around or plateaued or whatever's going on. And we can create some real momentum and breakthrough for you during that session. And I would love to be able to help your community have that experience, Jannette. So please come and visit me there. Also in this podcast, our broadcast, if you post your own questions, I'm happy to see if I can respond to them within the group, because as we've said, we want to leverage that opportunity of community that's around us, leverage that opportunity of support. So I guarantee you, if you're listening to this and you have a challenge, somebody else has that same challenge. We are not alone in it. It just feels like it because we've isolated ourselves for so long. So be bold, be who you are, be uncertain and challenged and stuck. It will give other people permission to grow and to find their own way as well. So I really encourage people to look at my website and to post their questions and to get in touch.
I love it. Love it. Thank you so much. So go and get that discovery session, and by all means, take advantage of the brilliance that she's offering you. Post your questions, like she said in the chat below. Sorry. And thank you, Margaret, for, that was sweet. Her comment is, there.
Thanks, Margaret. We love your participation. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And for those of you who are going to watch this later, please do put your questions in the thread right below this video, and then Aura will come and check back in periodically and see if there's questions there that she can support you with and answer. And of course, you can go to her website to get more information about her. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. You are a light and a delight. It was awesome. And I know we went over a lot because it's just so juicy. I love you.
I know both of us have so much to share.
No, it's just, okay. We have more that we could talk about, but let's stop for now. And thank you for being here. And we will talk to you soon.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.